Imagine a 27-year-old White House press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, sent by President Trump to observe a religious freedom lawsuit. She expects to watch quietly from the back row. Instead, she's stunned when Judge Charles Hargrove slaps her with a steep fine just for wearing a small silver cross on her blazer. But this judge has no idea she's not only the president's spokesperson, but also well-versed in constitutional law. Will Karoline risk further contempt charges to stand up for religious freedom, or will the judge's authority silence her? Let's just say this clash goes far beyond one courthouse fine and ends up shaking the entire system. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support keeps us bringing you stories that inspire and empower. Late afternoon sunlight drapes Washington, D.C. in a soft glow. Buildings cast long shadows as cars hurry along busy avenues. Inside her tidy apartment near the White House, 27-year-old Karoline Leavitt, America's youngest White House press secretary, sorts through briefing notes. She is meticulous, her small silver cross pinned neatly on her navy blazer lapel, a symbol of personal faith since her New Hampshire upbringing. Suddenly, her phone buzzes. Karoline, President Trump says urgently, "I need you at the D.C. local courthouse." A Christian group is suing over a public prayer ban, claiming religious discrimination. Go check it out. Report back to me. Within minutes, Karoline grabs her things and strides out the door. She's headed toward a routine legal hearing, but she has no idea how personal it's about to get. Karoline's black SUV navigates the congested streets of D.C. She briefly checks a news radio station. A mention of religious protest downtown could be related to the very lawsuit she's about to observe. Turning off the radio, she pulls up to the courthouse steps, noting a small gathering outside, some carrying signs that read, "Prayers are right and faith belongs in public." She enters the lobby, passes through security, and sees that it's 2:53 p.m. The hearing begins at 3 o'clock. She slips into a cramped, stuffy courtroom lit by flickering fluorescent lights. The clerk, Mrs. Thompson, hair in a tight bun, sits typing away near the front. A tall bailiff named James Wilson stands by, arms folded. Karoline notices a variety of outfits in the room. A man in an "I Am King" t-shirt, a woman sporting an oversized, sparkling necklace. Their attire attracts no official reprimand. Karoline takes a seat, checking her phone one last time. She's prepared to observe, take notes, and update the president. Yet she can't ignore how a few people glance at her lapel cross. She's used to mild curiosity, but soon she'll learn someone in this room sees it as more than just a symbol. If you're linking the history until now, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're pushing toward 1,000 subscribers, and we appreciate each and every one of you who helps us grow. "All rise," announces the bailiff. The large wooden door at the front swings open. Judge Charles Hargrove, 62, steps in, salt and pepper hair combed neatly, wire-rimmed glasses perched low on his nose, black robe draped perfectly. He's known for strict efficiency. He rattles through minor cases, parking tickets, noise complaints. He barely looks at the flamboyant t-shirt or the glittering necklace in the audience. Then his gaze settles on Karoline. He pauses, flipping a page, eyes narrowing. "Ms. Leavitt," he says, "White House press secretary, am I correct?" Karoline stands politely. "Yes, Your Honor. I'm here to observe today's hearing on religious freedom." He exhales sharply, noticing her cross. "In my courtroom, we avoid displays that might incite strong feelings. That cross, do you really need to wear here?" A murmur runs through the gallery. Mrs. Thompson's typing slows. Karoline keeps calm. "Your Honor, it's a personal item. There's no posted rule against it, and it falls under protected expression." Hargrove's lips thin. "We'll see about that." In a sudden move, the judge raps his gavel. "You, Ms. Leavitt, are in contempt for wearing a religious symbol in open court. That'll be $500. Gasps ripple through the audience. Even the man with the "I Am King" t-shirt looks shocked. The woman with the giant necklace gapes, glancing down at her own far more ostentatious accessory. Karoline's heart races. She's faced tough reporters before, but never a judge finding her for a simple cross. Your Honor, she starts calmly. If there's a dress code rule that prohibits religious symbols, I'd appreciate seeing it. Otherwise, this feels like selective enforcement. Hargrove's face reddens. Another word, Ms. Leavitt, and I'll double that. My courtroom is neutral. No religious disruptions allowed. James Wilson, the bailiff, stiffens. Mrs. Thompson lifts her gaze from her typing. It's clear to Karoline that nobody else is being disciplined for personal attire. Only her cross has triggered the judge's wrath. Is the judge's reaction justified, or is this outright bias? If you think this is just the beginning, you're right. Subscribe now and help us hit 1,000 subscribers so you don't miss Karoline's next move. Karoline quietly returns to her seat, discreetly switching on her phone's recorder. She's here on behalf of the White House to observe a group of Christians suing the D.C. government for banning public prayer in a local park. Their attorney steps up, citing the First Amendment's protection of free exercise. The city's council argues that open prayer disrupts public order. Hargrove's manner is brisk, interrupting the plaintiff's attorney multiple times. Karoline takes notes. She can't help but see a connection. The judge has singled her out for a religious symbol. So how is he treating this group seeking to pray publicly? The Christian plaintiffs shift uneasily each time Hargrove cuts them off. She notes every detail, certain the president will want a thorough account. Meanwhile, in the gallery, curious bystanders whisper about Karoline's cross, the unexpected fine, and the judge's hostile glare. The hearing continues, but an undercurrent of tension remains. The I Am King t-shirt man looks perplexed. Why isn't his statement sure a problem? The woman with the enormous necklace frowns, obviously aware her accessory far outshines Karoline's cross. Yet Hargrove remains fixated on the cross alone. By 3:30, the hearing wraps. Hargrove declares he'll issue a ruling at a later date. Then he turns to Karoline with a pointed glare, reminding her of the $500 fine. She nods, tight-lipped, and exits as the bailiff dismisses the audience. Outside, voices buzz with rumors. She was fined for wearing a cross? That's insane. Someone discreetly snaps a photo of Karoline with her cross visible. She quickly checks her phone, multiple missed calls from White House staff. Clearly, word is spreading. James Wilson, the bailiff, sidles up. "Ma'am," he whispers, "I'm sorry about what happened. Hargrove's done this before, just not usually with someone high profile. If you need a statement, I'm willing to speak." Karoline thanks him gratefully, realizing not everyone in the system agrees with the judge's approach. Karoline heads straight to the White House, where she meets senior staff, including the communications director and legal counsel. She replays the audio from her phone. Murmurs of disbelief fill the room. "He fined you for a cross?" someone exclaims. "That's a blatant First Amendment issue," says another. President Trump joins via phone. "Ridiculous. We can't let a judge stomp on religious expression. Karoline, let's go public. This is exactly why we stand up for faith and freedom." Some advisors worry about interfering in local judiciary matters. But Karoline stands firm. "He singled me out. How many others has he penalized who had no platform to fight back?" Back at home, Judge Charles Hargrove paces his study, phone buzzing with calls from local reporters. He'd always prided himself on neutrality, shaped by a father who loathed public religiosity. Over decades on the bench, Hargrove systematically cracked down on any visible faith. Now, a White House official has turned the spotlight on his courtroom, and the tension in his chest grows. Is he about to lose everything for believing religious symbols have no place in public? He declines interviews, doubling down on his viewpoint. The courtroom must remain neutral, which to him means no religious displays. Yet he senses that this time he might have pushed too far. If you agree that freedom of religion matters, even in a courtroom, don't miss what happens next. Subscribe to our channel and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. That evening, Karoline's phone rings with an unfamiliar number. A hesitant voice speaks. "Ms. Leavitt? This is Mrs. Thompson, the court clerk. I've witnessed Hargrove do this to many people, penalizing them for wearing crosses, hijabs, anything religious. But loud t-shirts, big jewelry? He never cares." Karoline's pulse quickens. This is the evidence she needs. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson." Please, if you have records, logs, anything documenting that pattern, share it. It can help prove he's not just punishing me, but discriminating against many. Mrs. Thompson sounds relieved. For years, she's typed up transcripts, recording Hargrove's selective fines. Now she's ready to speak up. By morning, local media reports that White House press secretary fined $500 for wearing a cross. Eyewitness accounts hit social media, launching the hashtag #CrossInCourt. Conservative outlets decry Hargrove's action as blatant religious discrimination. Some on the left question if the White House is making a political spectacle, but the story is too big to ignore. Karoline's phone buzzes nonstop. Reporters want interviews. Religious groups reach out in support, and critics suggest the administration is meddling in local courts. The president instructs Karoline to hold a press conference to clarify the situation. Public pressure forces the D.C. Judicial Council to open a formal inquiry into Judge Hargrove. They request statements from individuals penalized for religious attire, staff who witnessed such incidents, and legal experts on the First Amendment. James Wilson, the bailiff, steps up. I've seen him ignore T-shirts with crude text, but fine a woman for wearing a rosary, he says in a statement. Mrs. Thompson hands over meticulously kept notes, listing case after case of Hargrove singling out crosses, hijabs, or prayer badges. The pattern is undeniable. That afternoon, cameras flash in the White House press room as Karoline takes the podium. The silver cross gleams on her blazer. She recounts how the judge fined her for wearing it, pointing out the discrepancy. Others wore attention-grabbing shirts and jewelry, yet I was penalized for my faith. She cites the Church of Lukumi Babalu I versus City of Hialeah, 1993, explaining that the Supreme Court forbids governmental bodies from targeting religious expression without a compelling reason. A judge's personal dislike, she says firmly, is not compelling reason enough. Reporters ask if the White House is overreaching. Karoline responds, protecting constitutional rights is part of our duty. If a judge abuses discretion to suppress religion, we can't ignore it. If you stand with Karoline on religious freedom, remember to subscribe and help us reach our 1,000 subscriber goal. We'll keep you updated on this unfolding battle for constitutional rights. The investigation gathers steam. Former defendants reveal they were fined hundreds of dollars for wearing religious symbols, while others wearing shirts with offensive language walked free. The D.C. Judicial Council issues a preliminary statement. Allegations suggest a pattern of selective enforcement against faith-based attire. Local news broadcast footage of protesters outside the courthouse, chanting, "Stop targeting religion." Meanwhile, Hargrove defends himself to a reporter, "I maintain order. Religious symbols cause disruptions." But the public sees the data. The only disruptions are his own biased rulings. James Wilson and Mrs. Thompson meet with council investigators, turning over logs and official transcripts. He'd fine or threaten contempt if he saw a cross, Thompson says. But a T-shirt with profanity? He'd just roll his eyes and move on. Slammed by evidence, Hargrove grows increasingly isolated. His colleagues distance themselves, anxious about the scandal. The possibility of removal from the bench looms. Late at night in her White House office, Karoline sifts through messages of support. People sharing stories of religious discrimination in courtrooms, workplaces, schools. She thinks, if a judge can punish me for my cross, imagine how many others he silenced. She's determined to see the inquiry through. The president backs her, praising her calm but steadfast approach. Meanwhile, critics online claim it's a political stunt. Karoline ignores the noise, focusing on her moral conviction. No one should be fined for a quiet symbol of faith. The Judicial Council, confronting overwhelming evidence, suspends Judge Hargrove pending a final review. Headlines read, "Judge facing investigation over targeting religious symbols." #CrossInCourt continues trending, with countless tweets describing similar experiences under different judges. Some see Karoline as a modern-day David confronting Goliath-level injustice. Karoline exhales relief. This isn't just about her $500 fine anymore. It's about exposing a deeper bias that's hurt many believers, and even those of other faiths. The Christian plaintiffs who originally sued over the public prayer ban applaud Karoline's actions. Their attorney, Linda Park, States on local TV, "We suspect the same bias that targeted Ms. Leavitt also tainted our client hearing. Now that Hargrove is suspended, maybe we'll finally get a fair shake." Karoline quietly touches base with Linda. They share notes. Linda reveals that Hargrove repeatedly dismissed arguments about the right to pray publicly, focusing instead on technicalities. "He never seemed neutral," Linda admits. Karoline sees the bigger picture. This is about consistent hostility toward open expressions of faith. If you appreciate Karoline's fight for fairness, please subscribe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support shines a light on these critical issues. Facing near-certain removal by the council, Hargrove chooses resignation, issuing a terse statement of regret for any misunderstandings. Many interpret it as a half-hearted admission of guilt. Media outlets highlight his 30-year tenure undone by a single confrontation with a 27-year-old official who knew her rights. Trump lauds Karoline. She stood up to a biased judge and won. Religious freedom prevails. In the wake of Hargrove's resignation, the D.C. Judicial Council announces new protocols. Judges may not fine or hold in contempt anyone merely wearing a religious symbol unless it clearly disrupts proceedings. Court staff, from bailiffs to clerks, must undergo First Amendment training. Complaints alleging religious discrimination receive expedited review. Mrs. Thompson receives a commendation for bravery. James Wilson is promoted to a role overseeing bailiff conduct, ensuring no future judge can weaponize order in the court against faith. They both thank Karoline for drawing national attention to what was happening locally. Back at the White House, Karoline frames the $500 fine receipt, now voided, and hangs it on her office wall. To her, it's a reminder that even a small symbol can reveal a deep problem. She wonders how many ordinary people paid hefty fines or face intimidation without the White House's backing. She also thinks of the Christian group's lawsuit. With Hargrove gone, they have a fresh judge who might genuinely weigh whether banning prayer in a public park violates free speech and free exercise. Linda Park keeps her updated, hopeful for a fair outcome this time. Hashtag Crossing Court sparks larger debates across social media. People post their own experiences with religious discrimination, crosses, hijabs, Star of David necklaces. Faith-based advocacy groups see an uptick in calls from people wanting to know their rights. Civil liberties organizations argue that real neutrality means respecting all faith expressions equally, not banning them entirely. Some states begin auditing local court policies to ensure they don't replicate Hargrove's approach. Legal analysts on TV cite Karoline's confrontation as a prime example of how to stand up against official overreach. A few weeks later, Linda Park calls Karoline with good news. "We finally got a fair hearing. The ban on public prayer was deemed unconstitutional. Our clients can now pray peacefully in that park." Karoline congratulates them. The group publicly acknowledges how Karoline's ordeal shed light on the judge's bias and helped them secure genuine justice. At the same time, critics still claim the White House meddled. But Karoline stands by her actions. "We expose a real problem. Constitutional rights apply to everyone, local or federal." One evening, Karoline's husband teases her. "So, you battled a judge with a cross and toppled him. What's next?" She smiles, remembering the tension of that hearing, the hush that fell when Hargrove threatened her. "I never wanted a confrontation," she says, "but if no one challenges injustice, it keeps happening." She scrolls through messages from strangers. "Thank you for inspiring me to wear my cross at work again," reads one. Another says, "I was forced to hide my hijab in court. Now I know I can fight back." The president publicly commends Karoline at a White House event, praising her poise. Religious liberty organizations invite her to speak about her experience, referencing her knowledge of legal precedents. She humbly deflects, saying the real heroes are the everyday people, like Mrs. Thompson, James Wilson, and the Christian group, who risk careers and comfort to challenge wrongdoing. The cross on Karoline's blazer now symbolizes more than just personal faith. It stands for the power of standing firm against institutional bias. If you found Karoline's story inspiring, please subscribe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Every click helps amplify voices standing for freedom and fairness. Karoline eventually meets with the D.C. Judicial Council to discuss broader reforms. She shares how a single courtroom encounter ballooned into a national conversation about religious attire. She urges them to keep an open line for complaints, so no one else faces a hidden pattern of discrimination. Meanwhile, Linda Park finalizes the Christian group's victory in court, ensuring the ban's reversal is documented as a precedent. James Wilson runs a small training seminar for new bailiffs, focusing on identifying and reporting potential judicial overreach. Across the country, other local courts quietly revise their guidelines. A few judges rumored to share Hargrove's views suddenly lighten up on penalizing religious displays. The conversation shifts from, should we keep religion out, to, how do we respect faith while preserving order? Karoline's unexpected day in court ended up reshaping policies and shining a light on hidden injustices, all because she wore a tiny cross that one judge deemed unfit for a supposedly neutral courtroom. Stand for your rights. Karoline's knowledge of First Amendment precedents helped her challenge an unjust situation. Evidence and allies. Mrs. Thompson's logs, James Wilson's testimony, and recorded audio were crucial in proving systematic bias. Real neutrality. Banning only religious attire isn't neutrality. It's discrimination. True neutrality means everyone's expression is treated equally. We hope Karoline's story inspires you as much as it did us. If you haven't yet, subscribe to our channel and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Click the card on your screen to watch our next video, where we explore another powerful instance of fighting for personal liberty. Together, let's continue shedding light on stories that matter and stand up for freedom whenever it's threatened.